Today on DNVR Buffs Live, do Coach Prime in Colorado have the best coaching staff in college football? We talk about that and much more now.
Buff Nation.
Let's go.
Squad. Coming to you live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. It's DNVR Buffs Live. Day 2 of spring football for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. We got to meet some of the new coaches on the staff today, and they spoke for the first time on the podium. We learned a lot, I thought. We'll talk about that. Do they have the best staff in college football? A little bit of recruiting. And Colorado is right now with 7.5 minutes left in the quarterfinal of the Big 12 quarterfinal, 64-51 to Houston.
Yeah, they're fighting. They're also playing the best team in the conference, and they aren't nearly as talented as
some
them.
people's eyes, the best team in the nation.
Yes.
Number 2, I think in the top 25 poll right now. A lot of people have them as the Final Four team.
Not to open a basketball discussion here, but upstairs they were talking about, they still got to fight for a 1 seed. I'm like, how could the team that won the Big 12 regular season not be a 1 seed?
Nah.
They're like, well, the SEC could get 3. I'm like, come on.
That would be ridiculous.
SEC bias now transcending sport.
It was only a matter of time. All right, we got a lot to get to today with today's pressers, so let's just go right into it. Starting with the headliner, Coach Faulk. Up there for 17 minutes, and it was almost like listening to Coach Prime. Just like he starts talking about, time. We'll play it, but the story when he first met Coach Prime is crazy.
That was hilarious.
It was awesome, and just you can tell he's just knows so much about the game. Obviously, with what he's done, that you hear him speak, you just have to stop what you're like. It's hard to even type quotes out. You just got to listen to him.
I love that. That's where I got with Coach Prime in year 1.
Yeah,
I was trying to hammer the keys.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm missing out on gems right now. I just got to listen.
Free game. That's what we got today from a few different guys, starting obviously with Coach Faulk here. Let's get into it. First question. I asked Coach Faulk what I've been dying to ask him. Watching Colorado be the worst running game in the country the last 2 years, what was that like for you? And this was his response. Him watching the last 2 years, yep.
Well, it was great watching Shedeur throw the ball. You got to understand when you're bad at running the ball, when it appears to be that you're bad at running the ball, is because you're really, really good or borderline great at throwing the football, and that's what Shedeur brought to this team. And I don't want to say that the team was as bad as they were, but I mean, like when MJ liked dunking, you dunked. Steph Curry like shoot threes, you shoot threes. That's what you do. And then they say you're bad at something else because you're really good at what you actually do. So I don't believe that we were as bad as the numbers say, but I think that we were really good at throwing the football. So I focus on that part of it, and coming in here and just trying to figure out how do we statistically look better to you guys as a team at running the football.
Kind of a diplomatic answer, huh?
Yeah. Politician as well as a coach and a Hall of Famer.
But he's right at the same time.
No, he's right. The thing is, both things can be true. The Buffs could have been amazing at passing the ball and bad at running the ball, and that's what I believe to be true.
Yes.
He said he doesn't think it was as bad as it looks, which is encouraging to hear. because it means he feels like he's got maybe more building blocks than the average person might see. But it was a good answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Diplomatic is the right way to put it.
Yes.
But you would think also, too, if you have an elite quarterback, an elite passing game, that should theoretically open up
Exactly.
some running lanes,
Yeah.
and some room to operate in the run game.
I think I remember Noshawn Moreno having a 1,000-yard rushing season
Yep.
with Peyton Manning as
Best of his
quarterback.
career, right?
And I mean, Edgerrin James, and you can go through it.
Yeah. I mean, even Tom Brady, they always ran the ball in New England, and they were throwing the hell out of the football, too.
I mean, they couldn't find any consistency in the running game is what it comes down to. And they rightfully decided to pass the ball even more because of that.
But his answer there, too, also makes it clear to me that he knows what he's walking into, the type of situation he's walking into. Like, starting that answer with, it was fun watching Shedeur throw the football. Like, he knows that it wasn't no running game for him to watch the last 2 years for Colorado. And again, I feel like he knows kind of what this starting point for this room and this offense in terms of the running game is. And that's important because you got to really build from the ground up with this unit, with this running game going into 2025, because it's going to look a lot different. It has to look a lot different. So I think having just a new voice, and obviously that new voice in mind being a Pro Football Hall of Famer, Marshall Faulk, is exactly what this offense needs to finally get this running game going.
Yep. Before Coach was on the podium, actually, Gunnar was on the podium, and he was talking obviously about running the football, which we will get to. So Coach Faulk was asked, when you hear your offensive line coach say that, does that kind of get you excited just about, what you're going to do this season?
Sorry, Bang got Dak and one alley-oop.
Damn, I missed it.
With his answer, though, Coach Faulk gave a guarantee. So here's his answer.
Man, I just think if you're not trying to improve, then you're getting worse. Even if I came in here and we were coming off being, top 10, top 5, I'm still looking at where can we improve. That's the idea, and that's the mindset that we have to have, and that's what we want to instill in the football players that we bring in here and that we coach. I don't care how good you are. It's how much better can we make you? Where can you get better? And if that's all you do is focus on the things that you do well, then you're not improving. I got to take your weakness and turn it into a strength, and that's the idea of what we want to do. And I believe I'm here, and that's what I'm gonna try to do. As you guys look at, and I can't change what you thought about the run game last year, but we're going to be better. I can guarantee you, we are going to be better.
Love that one. That was more in his bag a little bit. And I think that it's a good bet that they're going to be better under 100%. Marshall Faulk. It's exciting to see this kind of next phase of this offense, and it's kind of crazy to think about this, as the question from the headline was, does Colorado have the best coaching staff in the country? And it's easy to say, like, oh, just because they have names doesn't mean that they have, the best coaches. What I will say is the proof is in the pudding with Warren Sapp. And that was a real big proof of concept to me that, yes, you can just get one of the best to ever do it at something who has a passion for wanting to teach it to younger players, and that will improve you. Mm-hmm. And so now they get to do it on the running back position, and I think if they do and it's successful, then they're just going to keep going back to that well, and they're the only team that can go to that well. 100%. That well exclusively exists in Boulder, Colorado, or wherever Coach Prime happens to be at the moment.
Yep.
I think that last point you made is especially good, because Marshall Faulk talked about it today, where he was like, I never thought I was going to be coaching football. And the one person who could bring him to do that is Deion Sanders. Domata Peko had a similar thing where he was like, when he was done after his 15-year NFL career, he was like, I didn't think I was going to be getting into coaching. And obviously he did with the Cowboys and whatnot. And obviously that led him to, Coach Prime through his connection with Mike Zimmer. But a few different times, like, you heard God being mentioned, like in terms of like this is like something that is like being ordained from like a higher like power, that a calling that all these coaches with all of these different backgrounds at a high level are coming together to coach this football team, this group of young men. And that was also something that came out to me too, just again hearing from Peko, Marshall Faulk talk as well. Like this is something that can't happen anywhere else. Can't happen anywhere else other than Boulder, Colorado, underneath Coach Prime. That is something special.
That's a great point, Scotty, because Coach Prime, he always talked about calling.
Yep.
Especially when the decision came up to come to Colorado. He said it was a calling from God, basically, to come to Boulder, Colorado.
I would say the same for Sap. He won coaching.
Absolutely.
He's not coaching if he's not rocking with Coach Prime. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that is really a one-of-one situation. This is a one-of-one coaching staff all the way through.
So I don't think people fully grasp the gravity that Coach Prime has.
I mean, Marshall kind of talked about it today. I'm sorry, Coach Faulk kind of talked about it today, too.
There are very few people in this world who can call anyone and say, I need you for this.
Yes.
And that person's like, look, if he says so, I better listen. That's a special level of gravity.
Yeah,
no doubt. And I love too what Coach Faulk was talking about there, just in talking about like improving. Like I have to take your weaknesses and turn it into a strength. Like if he can, Dallin Hayden potentially sometimes maybe struggle with vision. If that can be something that's turned into a strength, Dallin Hayden is a player. If Isaiah Gustav all of a sudden turns into a reliable pass catcher, that's something crazy. If Michael Welch can kind of add maybe top end speed, some more elusiveness to him, like that could turn this backfield as a whole into something really special. And that's something, all things that Coach Faulk is, I think, capable of unlocking in these guys.
Yep, 100%. This one's like 3 minutes. This is the long one. Is that okay? Yeah. All right, here's Marshall Faulk just talking about his relationship with Coach Prime. Just sit back and enjoy this.
I remember the first like real conversation he and I had was like in 1999. I was telling him that the dance that he did as a celebration dance, it was a dance that came from New Orleans that he saw when he was in New Orleans. He saw it. I know it because I know that, we know the guys who invented a lot of the dances. Just like Justin Jefferson and the Gritty, that came from New Orleans. We know, like, we are if there's a song, we have a dance for it kind of culture. That's us. And so the dance that he did, I told him where he got it from. So we're in game. He's playing for the Redskins at the time. I'm with the Rams. And then I flank out, and this is just funny. I line up, and I walked out there, and he lined up on me. And I said, "Oh man, I've been waiting for this my whole life." And he said, "Where you at? You on the outside edge of the numbers? You here?" He said, "That's all you can run is a slant." And I actually had a slant route. I'm like, God damn. And our relationship started then. We worked in television together at NFL Network, and we spent so much time on the road. We literally we went through the Hall of Fame process the same year. We actually had we had our party together. We've done a lot of stuff together, and I heard you guys ask Peko, like coaching-wise, what did he think about it, whatever. I've been saying no to coaching since I left football. And for the past, like 3, maybe 4 years, Coach has been grooming me. He'll call me and ask me certain stuff. He'll ask me about a player. And we'll talk about this and that. Hey, come up and watch us practice. So he's been grooming me, and I always felt like for what I invested in the game, it took away from me with my kids, and so for the past time I've been away from the game, not coaching, not doing anything other than that was television was the only thing that I would do because I could get my Friday night stuff when they play, and then my during the week stuff when my girls would play. I could be at their stuff, and the television allowed me to do that. And now it's like I'm wondering when they can come see me. They're older, so it's been I was groomed. Coach worked on it. He worked on me.
Nice.
All right, let's take our first break, and then we'll kind of unpack that whole thing. Shout out to our homies. What?
Nothing.
Shout out to the homies at Factor. It's a busy time of year for us. Everyone else, I'm sure, is busy too. If you just want a good meal, you don't have time to get it, hit up our friends over at Factor. They're delicious. They come pre-portioned, and they can fit your dietary needs as well. So hit them up at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. Use the code factorpodcast. You'll get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Again, that's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
I'm so locked in on Factor. That's because I'm also locked in on my health. And UC Health, of course, bringing you the show, the official health care of the Colorado Buffaloes. It's a weird thing when you hit a certain age in your life. You start realizing that health doesn't come easy to you anymore.
When does that start?
You have 30.
Okay.
And then you're going to put it off for about 2 years.
Okay.
And then you're going to start to realize that you shouldn't have done that.
All right, good to know.
And that's where I'm at right now. Realizing that health is no longer something that can just happen. You have to take it seriously. And you have to live like there is tomorrow, and you want a tomorrow. And that's what I'm doing right now. So shout out to UC Health. If you want more information on what it means to live like there is a tomorrow, you can go to uchealth.org. UC Health, live extraordinary.
What was it like seeing Marshall Faulk in a CU hat, wearing the sunglasses, just owning the moment, basically?
It's one of those things that will never get old. It doesn't matter if it's a guy who has a gold jacket putting on the coach's outfit, or Rick Ross standing on the tarmac wearing a Buffs hoodie. It's one of those things that I think 20 years from now, like me and my friends will be sitting around after a round of golf being like,
Yep.
dude, do you remember the Coach Private? Or like,
Right.
yes. How insane was that?
Yeah.
Because we went our whole lives like just wanting one cool thing like that. Like just one. Like the Ice Cube, the picture of Ice Cube rocking the old school Buffs hat has been like circulating through Buffs Twitter forever. The one picture.
Yeah.
Now you get
Is that
something
real?
like, yeah.
He actually had on a Buffs hat?
Yeah.
That's fire.
It's in the NWA doc.
Ah, okay.
Anyways, that's something like that happens on a weekly basis now. Like we have a lifetime of content that just shows like we were relevant.
No doubt. And I'm going to write a little bit about this tomorrow, so go check that out on the DNVR.com. And don't forget that we're running a sale for diehards, almost 50% off. Check out all of our written content, diehard perks, and all of it. But when Coach Prime or Coach Faulk was talking about how for the last 3 or 4 years, Coach Prime has been grooming him, to use Coach Faulk's word, to be a coach, to be a running backs coach that he knew that he probably needed. You know, it might not be this year, it might not be next year, but down the line, I know I'm gonna need you. Right. So let me start working on that right now. And that just speaks to the foresight of Coach Prime to know, I think I'm gonna need you one day. And 2025 is the year that this program needed a running game. They needed a legitimate, different voice, a Pro Football Hall of Famer to coach that running back room and get this running game going. And that's something only Coach Prime could do, and that's something he did. And also, too, the word trust was thrown around so many times today as well. And obviously, Coach Faulk said that him and Coach Prime had their Hall of Fame party together. Like, that's your whole family and kids celebrating one of the most momentous
whoever's
moments
closest to you
of your life, and they had their party together. Like, they trust each other. Coach Peko was talking about how him and Robert Livingston, dating back to their time in Cincinnati, they trust each other. We know about Sapp, and Coach Helow was talking about it as well with Livingston and the rest of the defense.
Gunnar was talking about it with Coach Prime.
This coaching staff, as much as we talk about how great they are, what they do, but this is a coaching staff that's so interconnected and just has... They're just synced up, and that's what's just going to lead to real results here this fall. It's going to be exciting.
100%. The story just about him lining up wide and Coach calling out the play. I mean, it's just so good. It's just vintage Coach Prime. It's great.
I love that too, because when you're a receiver out there, like you don't have any. It's not like you can change the play.
Yep.
It reminds me of the Luke Kuechly Who was that?
Cam Newton.
Was it? Couldn't have been.
No,
Cam.
it was Clay Matthews and Cam Newton.
And Cam Newton. And he's like, oh, you think so? Watch this.
They still didn't guard the wheel on that play, by the way.
For sure. But as a wide receiver, as a quarterback, you can do that. As a wide receiver, you can't. You're just like, well, he knows what I'm doing. I guess I'm stuck out here just walking right into it. Hopefully the quarterback doesn't throw it this way. It just goes to show you why these guys listen when Coach Prime talks. Like, he got to that level of football savant that he can just tell by where you're lining up and what the formation is exactly what you're going to do. And everyone, whether it's Travis Hunter, who also got to that level, or anyone else who wants to learn under Coach Prime, has the ability to get to there through him.
Yep.
It's part of what makes him the GOAT at the position that he played. You know what I'm saying? It's not just that he was an unbelievable freak athlete and could do everything on the football field. It was that he had it up here too. He knew what you was going to do before you did it. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of what made Travis so great. That's part of what makes Shador so great as a quarterback. It's not that he can put the ball wherever he wants to. It's the fact that he knows likely what a defense is going to do, how they're going to line up, and how they're going to react in certain situations. And I think that's just going to permeate throughout this program the more that they spend time around this elite coaching staff.
We can't do all of Coach Faulk's presser. I mean, it was 17 minutes. Go check it out on our YouTube page after the show, though. I mean, it was awesome, though. Let's stick with the running game and go to the new offensive line coach, Coach Gunnar White. Obviously been with Coach Prime a long time, and he talked about that. But he also, he's been with this team since Coach Prime and this staff got to Colorado. He was asked, reflecting on last year, what do we have to do to take the next step, basically? And his answer was pretty interesting.
Run the ball. Like, we have to run the ball. Like, that's a non-negotiable. Like, we had two of the best players in college football last year. And, of course, we're going to utilize that, right? And so if it's a weapon and a strength, why leave it on the table? But we have to run the ball, and the team has to depend on the offensive line this year for us to be successful like we're planning and hope to be.
He understands the assignment.
Non-negotiable.
Yep.
Period. Put it on a shirt. We have to run the football. Non-negotiable. I love that. I thought Gunnar was awesome today. Pretty sure that was our first time talking to him, right? In terms of a media setting.
I won't out them, but there is a Gunnar White doubter in this office.
Yes, there is.
Who was changed a little bit today.
He was. That he was. Coach was quick. You could tell it was his first time on the podium, but he was also asked, about the philosophy of how this team attacks the portal, and then kind of went in depth on what these new additions on the offensive line via the transfer portal are going to bring to this team. So it's a little preview of basically what's going out on the field right now at under the Flatirons.
Athletes and size, right? So in order to run the ball, not only you have to be powerful, but you have to be athletic too to change up the schemes. Like if you want to pull a guard or pull a tackle or whatnot. And then we try to get length on the edge too. So my philosophy is that if you get tackles can easily screw down inside. They can go for guards. Yeah, I mean, you don't see 6'6", 6'7" dudes just walking around the earth anyway. They're hard to find, much less some that are strong and fast and can bend and they're athletic too. So that's just part of the molding and development process too. And I think that we hit on that pretty good. So Zy Chrysler, he's a transfer from Illinois. He's everything we want in a guy. He comes to work every day. He doesn't talk. He doesn't do anything. He just works. He works. He's strong. I mean, he was all Big 12, all Big 10 for 2 years. Mana Tamani. He's a hybrid guy too. He's played guard and tackle, and he's a big, powerful, athletic guy. And not only that, he's a grown man. Like, he's married. He's got 2 kids, so he's got other things to go about other than just himself. Like, he's looking at things in the eyes of a man. Like, he's the group dad, really. Like the other day he was talking about make sure you guys eat breakfast so you can have a better practice, like that type of deal. It's a good thing coming with them.
Yeah, Gunnar.
Gunnar owned it today, man. He crushed it.
He low-key lit up when he started talking about Mana Taimani.
That's Okay, and if you go to Wolof and if you watch from day one, Mana Taimani is on the starting offensive line. It's day one of spring. It means nothing. But
I disagree.
Yeah.
It does not mean nothing to me.
In the long-term context of things, maybe.
It's equivalent to having the lead in the first lap of the Indy 500.
Yes.
But you can't get the lead if you never had it.
True.
100%. And I mean, that's somebody that Coach Gunnar just brought up, him and Chrysler.
Multiple times, too, he brought up Mana Taimani.
You know what I'm saying? He said, in terms of what he was looking for, he said he was looking for athletes in size. Mm-hmm. That really pretty much describes both of those guys. Chrysler is 6'7". Mana Taimani's 6'5". They're both 320 plus. Like, these are big dudes. And again, early on, the looks we've seen, that's the right side of the offensive line. Chrysler at right guard, Taimani at right tackle. But that's a big group. And again, hearing Unc talk about it yesterday, that offensive line, that's a group that just looks different, than it did last year, just from a sheer size perspective.
100%. But go check out Gunnar's press conference as well.
Is that our last Gunnar clip?
Yeah.
Can I add something?
I saved it for you. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it, but go ahead.
I would love to. I had to ask Coach Gunnar about his long-standing relationship with true freshman Chauncey Gooden on that offensive line.
Yep.
Coach Gunnar has been recruiting Chauncey since 2022, back when Coach Gunnar and Coach Prime were back at Jackson State. And obviously they remain a relationship all these, 3 years since then. And I just asked Coach Gunnar, what does it mean to him to be a part of Chauncey's recruiting process and now have him in the room? And the first thing Coach Gunnar says is, it's about damn time. I've been waiting on this. And he goes on to say, I wanted him to play for me right then and there back in 2022 when he offered him when he was at Jackson State. That's how dominant he was.
Then, right?
I think so, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And he still looks young, but even back then, that picture 22, Chauncey looks like a young guy, but you can tell, he got some coming.
If you've seen Chauncey, you know.
Bro, the first couple videos from practice of seeing Chauncey, that looks like an NFL guard.
Yes, dude.
I swear, bro. And Coach Gunnar goes on, he goes, he's somebody I have a lot of high praise for and a lot of high hopes for. So this is somebody who, if there is going to be a freshman, I think, starting on offense, I think it'll be Chauncey Gooden, because he already has kind of the build and he has the affinity from Coach Gunnar White. As long as he can kind of get up to speed to the college game and, make sure that his conditioning is up to par, he can definitely see the field. I feel like right away as a true freshman, and that would be huge.
I think one true freshman will be on the starting offensive line. At least one.
Do we have a moment here in transition to talk basketball?
Go for it, yeah.
Buffs lose 68-77 to Houston. And I just got to say it. I think that from tip-off of the first game to the final whistle of the last game, this might actually be Tad Boyle's most impressive coaching job.
I totally could see that.
He's taken a lot of heat for, obviously, from a record perspective, the most disappointing season of his career. But he was at a severe talent disadvantage in every single conference game this year, save for maybe a couple. I don't know if you can say that TCU is more talented than us, and we beat them two times in a row. That being said, though, that all happened at the end of the season, and over time and over the course of this year, Tad got these guys to buy into his principles, which can actually overcome some talent disparities sometimes. So I don't need to go on too much further, but this is a team that went from being the worst team in the conference, which that is how they finished, to winning 2 games in the tournament and then giving Houston more than they bargained for here in this final game.
This could have gotten ugly. It was 21-7 earlier.
Yep.
To be within 10, I think was the final score.
Yep.
I mean, absolutely.
They lost by 9.
Put some respect on Tad Boyle's name. You can talk about him as a recruiter, but you cannot cap on his name as a head basketball coach.
Even as a recruiter, he's brought in several NBA players.
No doubt. But people have short memory.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it goes. But again,
he's got 2 players in the NBA playing tonight from last year.
100%. And you mentioned it. This is a season as ugly as it was early on. Nobody would have batted an eye if the players on the team just mailed it in. And it was we obviously are not having the season that we expected. And this easily could have been a season that ended, 10, 12 losses in a row, ending in a unceremonious first round loss in the conference tournament. Yep. But to win, your regular season finale to win 2 games in the Big 12 conference tournament with that roster that you had, with that season that you just had, is a feather in Tad Boyle's cap. And I'm elated that he's back, confirmed, back in Boulder in 2026.
Me too. And the last thing I'll say on this is the unfortunate truth, which is Colorado will not win games like this until they have an NIL presence.
Facts.
And someone somewhere needs to step up and take on the job of fundraising for the basketball program.
Yes.
Specifically. Because otherwise, we're just going to do the same. We're going to, we might be able to do a little better than we did this year. And Tad will continue to find, high caliber 3 and 4 star players that he can recruit. But guess what? From now until God knows how long, we're just going to be worried about if the good players that Tad developed are going to leave because someone else can afford to pay them a lot more than we can.
Right. And what would be cool? Somebody to potentially take over that role of, kind of getting NIL dollars into this program. And I'm not trying to count anybody's pockets or get in anybody's pockets because I don't like doing that. But recently it came out that James Harden has been pretty much funding Arizona State's roster from an NIL perspective, just because it's like he wants to see it succeed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I would love to see a Derek White potentially or, a Chauncey Billups potentially, who's now, obviously an NBA head coach, potentially, start a group of getting some real NIL dollars and flow into this basketball program.
And you combine Derek White and Chauncey Billups and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Right, yeah.
And, obviously these guys are rookies, but Tristan Da Silva and
Cody.
and Cody. You combine all of those guys together.
Right. Probably do some damage.
You can actually do some damage. Now, again, there's a little bit of like a weird thing, I feel like, with athletes, especially athletes who didn't have the benefit of NIL wanting to give back to NIL.
Fair enough.
But hopefully James Harden kind of, takes the lid off there and encourages more NBA players who are getting the bag to support their programs.
These CU basketball will be back to the level that they were at the last few years here very soon, I think.
Hope so, because last season was so fun.
All right, let's take our next break. Man, I love my Toyota. Shout out to Toyota for real, though. Some of the most reliable, dependable, and just best cars on the road. You can go sporty with the Supra. You can go with many of their hybrid options. The Tacoma, iconic for them. Or if you just want a Land Cruiser, RAV4, they got all that stuff for you. You're out in Colorado. If you're going to go experience the best that Colorado has to offer, you're going to need yourself a Toyota. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of CU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
Man, between work and life and social media, bro, sometimes we just need something to just help us chill out a little bit. And I can't think of really anything better to help somebody chill out, help us chill out, than a good old Coors Light, man. Shout out to Coors Light. You know how we feel about the boys over at Coors Light, man. They always tell you when it's cold. I really can't get over that technology. Literally, it tells you when it's cold. Blue Mountains.
No one's even
right
tried
there
to
on the
take
can.
that, which is crazy.
They probably got it copyrighted, locked down. Right. They dare you to try to replicate what they got going on over at that Coors Light. But like I said, we love Coors Light. Choose chill this winter and then reach for a cool Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Straight to your door. You ain't got to go out to the crib, especially if it might get cold out here a little bit this weekend in Colorado. You ain't got to leave the crib. You can get it delivered straight to your door. All you got to do is visit CoorsLight.com/DNVR, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Coors Light.
I told Scotty yesterday that March was the sunniest, or the snowiest
Oh, yeah, I didn't believe you.
month in Colorado. He did not believe me.
Gonna learn today.
That just don't even sound right. Like that defies all logic in my mind. And then Uncle Neely co-signed it, and I'm like, damn. But I don't really remember like a ton of snow like last March. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
We don't actually get that much snow, period.
right.
And so I think it's just, there has been a lot of snow. I will say the climate has been changing. I don't know if anyone's noticed.
Yes.
But it's been different recently. Like, it used to rain every day in the summer. It doesn't do
Right.
that anymore.
I've
It
noticed
used to
that too.
snow every year on Halloween. It doesn't do that anymore.
Wow.
So I don't know if March is still the snowiest month. Could be an old trope.
Historically.
It don't rain much out here either, I've noticed. At least since I've been out here.
It used to be 4 o'clock on every single day of the summer. It rained.
What?
It doesn't do that anymore.
That's crazy. I feel like I can count on 2 hands how many rainy days I remember since I've been living
Now
here.
we get like crazy rainstorms when it does rain.
It
That's
still
true.
rains pretty frequently in the summer, though.
The hail's even gotten better too. There's not as much hail.
Oh my God. I remember my first hailstorm out here. I didn't know what was going on. I thought my car was going to break. Like, I thought all my windows were going to be broken, bro.
Neely and I got caught in one. I
so
was taking him back to Boulder one time, and it was.
Oh, yeah, that was crazy.
Okay, back to Gunnar real quick. There was just so much good stuff from today. He was talking about Jordan, talking about working, of course, with Coach George Helow and a Coach Andre Gerard. The relationship with Coach Prime, and again, it's what he opened that answer with. Talking about his career going back to Jackson with Coach Prime. Trust and belief. So yeah, tons of good stuff. What he said about Chauncey to Scott. So go check it out. Let's go to the other headliner, basically, Domata Peko.
How great is Peko?
He's awesome, man. Thanked everyone who asked him a question.
Swear,
and
that was
everything,
dope.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a real one.
he is. I asked him why Colorado. How do you end up here?
Yeah, it's all through networking and through relationships. I've known Coach Prime, you know what I mean, just from TV and from watching him as a kid as one of the best to ever do it. But I have a great relationship with one of Coach Prime's, mentors, Coach Mike Zimmer. So I was with Mike Zimmer last year in Dallas and spent some time with Coach Mike. He was my DC in Cincinnati for 6 years, and then he became the head coach of the Vikings. And then also Coach Livingston, man, he was there when I was there. At the time, he was a scout, and then he started to be a position coach from there, working with the DBs and the safeties. So it was all through relationships. Coach Prime said that I guess he reached out to Coach Zim and asked him if he had a D-line coach in mind, and then that my name came up, and then threw my name in the hat. And I thank God for this opportunity. I'm truly blessed to be here and to be under some great coaches, and the things that Colorado has done the past 3 years as I feel like the world has noticed it, man. I remember being in Dallas, and on Saturdays when we were all eating dinner, we couldn't wait to find where Colorado was playing, you know what I mean? So the energy, this opportunity, and a chance to go to the next level here is what brought me here.
You know what's so cool is that you never have to ask anyone, so did you watch Colorado last year?
Right, they just know.
Because, I remember, golly, I can't remember who it was, but one coach came in for the Broncos, I want to say, and it might have been Vic Fangio. And he kept getting asked questions about the year before, and he's like, I don't even watch that. I don't care about that.
Right, yeah.
It's all about what I see on the field this year.
Right.
You can't say that about Colorado. You've seen every game. Everyone has.
Yep.
And I remember, I think it was Fred Warner's podcast. He was saying the same thing. Friday night team dinners, we're always finding the Colorado game, and everyone's locked in cheering for the Buffs.
Love it, man.
I just love Coach Peko's disposition, hanging around him today for the first time. And you said it perfectly. Him and Sap are the definition of fire and ice. And
Yes.
It's kind of catching on.
And it should. It's a fire saying, and it's true as well. I'm elated. I'm really excited to see how their combination works together, coaching that defensive line. Because again, we constantly hear, not constantly, but sometimes we'll hear bad cop, good cop in terms of
Right.
coaching, especially if there's more than one coach in the room. And you can't really do that with a Damian Lewis and a Warren Sapp, because they both, you feel me, rah all in your face, loud and whatnot. But I feel like Peko kind of just brings a different, different flavor to coaching this defensive line, and obviously playing in the NFL for 15 plus years. And I don't know, we get to the part where he was he thought he was a player coach pretty much the last. Was that one of the
I don't think so.
So he talks about his last 5 years in the league, he felt like a player coach. The younger guys would come in Peko, what do I do if I get this block? What do I do if I'm in this technique? Ooh. And that was kind of what he was doing, his role almost his last few years in the league. And again, that was with Robert Livingston in the building. That was with Mike Zimmer, obviously being a mentor and being a reason why Coach Peko is now here in Colorado. So that's dope, and it just speaks to relationships and Coach Prime is the relationship king.
And he totally was that guy when he was with the Broncos. And I hadn't thought about this in terms of him being a coach and people gravitating towards him. But when he was with the Broncos, the entire defensive line started using like the Polynesian like phrases that
so
he
dope.
uses. And they were like talking like him. I remember by the end of it, it was so funny to notice. But he's just one of those people that like his presence, you can like feel just like a warmth coming off of him. And he's just got something about him. But, talking about the fire and ice combo, I love, and you'll see this in any practice usually. Sometimes it's like the assistant or whatever, but you'll see one coach like yell at a guy.
Yes.
That's unacceptable, blah, blah, blah. He kind of puts his head down, he walks over, and there's the position coach. He puts his arms around her, says, hey, all right, so here's how you got to do it.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Listen to the message, not the tone.
Yes, and I love that kind of dynamic. And I don't think Sapp is quite as much of a, get after you as a Damian Lewis was. I think
Right.
Sapp has some players coach in him as well.
No doubt.
Quite a bit. But it is still that fire and ice combination of,
Hell yeah.
getting both sides of it from the coaching staff.
No doubt.
Here's Domata Peko just on his early impressions of Colorado's defensive line and what he has in that room so far.
Yeah, man, it's a really good group, man. We got a lot of seniors on our group. I think we got like 5 to 6 seniors in our D-line group, and we got some young guys as well, so it's a good mix. But I'm really, when you have a lot of seniors, when you have a lot of guys that this is their last year, their last chance to make it, it brings out the best in everybody. You know what I mean? So that's what I love about our room is the competition that we have. Right now it's our second day of spring ball, and you can see that the juices were flowing today. Guys are playing a little bit faster, and but I really love our room. We got a good group of dudes that are hungry, and coming from Dallas to here, it's a big difference, you know what I mean? Because guys in the league, they kind of already there. They're making a lot of money, you know what I mean? They're at the top, you know what I mean? So coming here, these guys are trying to get to the top, so they're so much hungrier here, and just listen to your every word, and I'm excited that they're showing it on film, man. When you tell somebody in the classroom, hey, do this, do that, and they're going out there second day of spring ball and they're executing it, that's what makes my day. So I'm excited for our group. I think it's going to be a group that leads us, because I feel like the best teams are led from the front. So we're going to definitely take lead and try to lead from the front here.
I mean, leading from the front, that's the quote that stands out. But the way he talks about already coaching college, how it's different than the NFL, it reminds me so much of why Coach Prime says he's never going to go coach in the NFL, because it's different when you're molding a type of player who's at this age where everything's kind of still in front of them. You've already done a lot. You're at a high level at college football, but there's still so much more to gain, and he already recognizes that.
Totally. Craziest thing I learned covering the NFL is how many guys are there that don't love football.
Mm-hmm.
They're
It's a
just
job.
there because they are good enough at it to make money off of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount of times I've seen guys just like giggling away after losing a huge game will blow your mind.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that stood out to me too. I mean, him talking about how hungry these guys are, not hungry to be great, but hungry to learn, like hungry to, pick the brain of somebody who's played in the NFL 15 years in Peko's case, 12 plus years in Warren Sapp's case. Like, they are hungry and they're coachable too. Like, that stood out to me as well, that Peko has already kind of gleaned that from his room. And that just bodes well from obviously the coaching that they've had the last year, the last 2 years. But moving forward, like, this is a group that's not just going to rest on its laurels that they led the Big 12 in sacks last year. Like, they want to continue to improve. We heard the word improve constantly from Coach Faulk, and we're hearing that from Peko in his room as well. Like, this staff, boy, this team is going to be nice.
Yep. Also, what stood out to me, him talking about the 5 seniors, man. Last year, we talked about how it was kind of a year for Shador and Travis and the receivers, and, they're going to have one of the best passing attacks in the country, and they went out and did that. They've really focused, this coaching staff, this recruiting staff, on getting experienced, strong, grown men on both lines.
I'm
Like,
looking
this team might be dominant on the line of scrimmage.
and literally most of that room is seniors.
Yeah.
Like 5 seniors, 2 juniors, and then the freshmen.
Yep.
That's how you lead from the front,
Yeah.
to use Coach Peko's phrase.
And that's a secret weapon in college athletics.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes you'll see an upset where like Liberty beats Oklahoma State, and then you find out like everyone on Liberty's offensive defensive line was a senior, and everyone on Oklahoma was an underclassman.
Yep.
Facts.
You'll love this one. And I've forgot to ask this to Coach Peko, but thankfully our guy, Jack Carlo, he came in clutch.
Thanks.
Because you brought it up. We got to ask Coach Peko about Phillip Lindsay.
Ah, yes.
So shout out to Jack for asking Coach Peko about Phil.
Carlo, my man.
Yes, sir, Big Phil. Yeah.
Him at all, and just great buff, and just what your relationship is.
Yeah, man. I remember Phillip Lindsay, brother. He did his thing as a rookie. I think he was a Pro Bowler as a rookie. I remember coming from CU. He used to always say that. I was from Colorado, went to Colorado. You know what I mean? That was one of his sayings. You know what I mean? But it's really cool because I seen. But right next to our locker room is a big old picture of Phillip, and then inside our indoor facility is a big thing of Phillip there. So it's really cool to see Big Phil on the walls here because he was a hell of a player. You hardly see a Pro Bowl rookie player coming that's undrafted. You know what I mean? So definitely a big shout out to Phil, and definitely got to hit him up though. I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but I know one day he'll come on campus and we'll go have lunch and catch up. But shout out to Big Phillip Lindsay.
Big Phil.
What a guy.
Yeah, that was just probably one of the cooler moments from today's press conference.
That was fire.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was like a scrum on the field at one point where Peko and Phil were both involved, and like Peko had his back. Like, I'm trying to remember what happened.
Yeah.
But I think it was at Baltimore, if I remember correctly.
Look, those teams
Phil
weren't,
got ejected.
Those teams weren't good, but they had a vibe to them. Those teams were fun, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Some more stuff from Coach Peko. Someone pointed out in the comments, one of the last questions, he was asked again just about, getting back into coaching. And we've talked about his sons. He's got 2 sons who are recruits.
Is he allowed to talk about them?
He did not talk about them specifically,
Okay.
but he was talking about taking the job. And, he says, so we prayed about it, asked God about it. Then we talked about it as a family. And man, my kids, they're all football players, and they're like, you better go take that job, man.
Let's go. Hell yeah.
Yep.
I think actually he is allowed. You are allowed to talk about your direct family.
Coach Prime did.
Coach Prime with Shador, first press conference. Everyone meet your quarterback. Before Shador was even, I think, officially in the portal.
Yes. And then another thing, this is obvious if you know the positions that they played, but Coach Peko did confirm that, he's working more with the 1 techniques. Coach Sapp working with the 3 techniques. And then we got one more clip from George Helow. He was the last guy from today's press conferences to talk. But I don't think we've really thought about it that way, how like every single position on the defensive line has their own coach, basically.
And I just want to make one more point about Domata Peko's kids saying that. This is something that I think the trolls and the angry people on Twitter just will never be able to grasp about Coach Prime in Colorado. And to use a word that they would use, it's aura.
Yeah.
It 100% is an aura around Colorado football that exists because of Coach Prime and also Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter and the people that have come through here that really, really is resonating with that demographic, which is the most important demographic for this to resonate with. Colorado is cool.
Yes.
Put it in the simplest terms. Colorado is cool. So when Domata Peko goes and tells his kids, I might have an offer, or I have an offer to be a coach at Colorado, that's cool to them.
Yep.
And that goes so far in this world.
That it does.
Great point.
Let's wrap up with Coach Helow. Not to, he was the first guy on the podium today. We've obviously talked to him a lot. I think we know a lot about what he's about. So that's what a lot of today's press conference was. People asking about, his coaching background and all this stuff. We've had him on our show talking about that already, basically. But you can go hear the whole thing on our YouTube channel. He was talking about the defensive end group, the edge group, though, and leaders, impression of the group. And then he was asked specifically about Sam Okunlola at the end, and he had an interesting comparison for him.
Sam, just, weight room's a big thing. He's got the size, speed, athletic ability that you look for in an edge guy. I kind of compare him a little bit to David Ajabo, who we had at Michigan, who ended up being a second rounder, probably would have been a first rounder had he not popped his Achilles at Pro Day. But he's got those type of traits. But just playing the game the right way, finishing in a dominant position every play, knowing how to play the run, knowing how to convert on pass. And, definitely just getting bigger, faster, stronger in the weight room that I think Coach Swayze's done a really good job with him. So obviously he's out right now. Look forward to working with him more in fall camp. And Tajay, have obviously been here before. Samo and Wade are out right now. You've got London Merritt and Alex that, are young freshmen, and they've been doing a great job just in terms of attitude and effort. But we're just looking to grow as a unit, right? And just getting better each and every day and developing these guys to be the best version of themselves as men and football players. But, yeah, those are the guys right now, and we definitely got to get healthy as a group. And for the guys that are out there practicing, just, getting better, taking a one-day-at-a-time approach.
Okay, kind of a lot to unpack there. He's building on what Coach Liv said on Tuesday. Arden seems like a real leader, not just for this edge group, for this defense, but he threw Tajay's name in there as well.
Yeah.
A guy, who's really kind of earned his knocks. Coach Williams was hard on him his freshman year, and he kind of grew up along the way. Keaton Wade, Samuel Okunlola, they're hurt right now, it sounds like.
Okay.
We don't know why or for how long. But then he compares Samuel Okunlola to David Ajabo, who was a monster at Michigan. He played across from Aiden Hutchinson a few years ago. And then, of course, as he mentioned, Ajabo, just freak thing. Achilles pops at pro day when he's going
crazy.
through drills. It was,
Terrible.
terrible. But,
I like that comp, though.
yep.
It's a fire comp. Again, Jabba was a second-round pick in the NFL draft.
And would've been high-
would've high
been a
first.
surefire first-round pick for sure. The thing that stood out to me there, though, from Coach Helow is the mention of the two freshmen.
Yes.
London Merritt and Alexander McPherson. I had heard recently that those two guys are running with the twos in the edge group, and that seemed to be confirmed by the fact that obviously Keaton and Sam are obviously dealing with some injuries. Obviously, you would assume Arden and Tajay are kind of the starters of the edge group right now, but this is the beginning, I believe, of those two guys being an impact players here as freshmen in 2025, because this edge room, as I look at it, it's kind of thin, especially if you're going to have guys maybe injured, one or two, like Arden, Keaton, Sammy Sachs, Quincy, Tajay, and then you got Brandon Davis-Swain in the freshmen. You know what I'm saying? And again, if they're already kind of making an impression, Coach Helow is already impressed with their attitude and their effort, and obviously we know they can actually play football when they're between the lines. That stood out to me, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if either of those two guys, potentially both of those guys, are in the rotation right away as freshmen.
It's just kind of how it starts for freshmen, right?
Yeah.
One opportunity,
That's all it takes.
some injury. In spring football, you get thrown into second team, and then if you're able to take and run with that opportunity, that can literally skyrocket your career.
It's the Terrell Davis story, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Speaking of things that we've heard recently, I just wanted to throw this out. It's totally off topic, but it's on my mind. I'm not going to name names I'm not going to name names of teams because I'm not a snitch. But recently heard the numbers that were thrown at some of CU's best players,
Yes.
including Jordan Seaton and DJ McKinney this offseason from some teams that Colorado fans do not like. And it's just so cool to hear that they said no to that.
Yep.
Some dumb numbers were thrown around at these players, and they decided to stick here in Colorado and build what they're building with Coach Prime. And I think that's pretty special.
Loyalty, above all else. What we were talking about earlier, trust.
And that is a very, very fine material in today's college football.
And me and Jigger were talking about the show yesterday. I'm like, sheesh, that would have had me thinking some of it all first came across my table. But in DJ's case, Jake said, he was like, yeah, but you trying to leave that man on the screen? You trying to leave Coach Prime, the best to ever do it at your position, for maybe a couple extra dollars, we'll say. You know what I'm saying?
After Coach Prime already called you a future first-round pick?
Yep.
Yeah.
Locked in.
Big time for those IMG guys to be at second in the edge rotation, especially, when we talked about recruiting the other day, and Jake Krull, the IMG who you actually compared to Aiden Hutchinson already.
That's my dog.
Put Colorado in a top 12, so that could be massive for that pipeline too.
Definitely.
Sticking with recruiting real quick, three guys. Dorian Barney, we've talked a lot about him, the cornerback from Carrollton, Georgia. Julian Lewis's teammate, same age as Julian. He's going, but Dorian's playing his senior season. He had a FaceTime call with Coach Prime. We know that doesn't happen very often. So Dorian Barney, he is skyrocketed to the top of the list if he wasn't already of priorities for this 2026 class.
It's a lock.
I think so too. He also spoke to Adam Gorney, the recruiting director of recruiting with Rivals, and said, he doesn't talk to a lot of recruits. So if he's talking to me, he needs and wants me to come play for him. And you already know, if Coach Prime tells you he needs you,
Just ask Marshall Faulk.
exactly. Carson Sneed, I think we mentioned him before. 2026 tight end from Nashville, Tennessee, 6'5.5", 235 pounds, 247 Sports Composite 4-star, 259th overall player, 14th ranked tight end. Currently committed to Tennessee, but is coming to visit this weekend. Boulder, check out. They're going to practice on Saturday, so he'll be able to hang out for a practice and all that. And of course, hang out with the tight end group and Coach Bartoloni.
Let me read this quickly, this scouting report on Carson Sneed, courtesy of Andrew Ivins, 24/7 Sports Director of Scouting, talking about Carson Sneed. He goes, a throwback inline tight end prospect that has actually received some valuable snaps at offensive tackle while also doubling as a front seven defender. 6'5", 260 plus pounds. Again, you mentioned already committed to Tennessee, but wants to check out Boulder this weekend. Interesting. Would fill a need too.
Yes, I was going to say, you want to run the ball?
Yeah.
Give me some guys like that. Although Zane D'Souza,
Yeah.
another guy who
Could fit that mold.
that tight end tackle,
Right.
straddling that line.
Last guy, Brian Harris. He just decommitted from Maryland back in February. 6'3", 280-pound defensive lineman out of Mandarin High School in Jacksonville, Florida. He's a high 3-star, 544th overall player, 57th ranked defensive lineman. He was offered by Colorado. So that's a name to keep an eye out for as we move forward.
Gee, that's why he's an example of why I don't care about rankings when it comes, because how is a 3-star got offers from Michigan and
Bro.
I mean, everybody that you would want an offer from is a young college football player, and he's a 3-star. And again,
Sometimes it just takes them a while to get around to reevaluating him.
But after the last year, I just don't care about these rankings anymore.
That's where I'm at.
I really don't.
That's where I'm at with it.
Follow the school,
Yes.
over anything,
No doubt.
especially if it's like a school that constantly puts out dogs at that position,
Right.
and you're like, oh, they've offered
Yeah, Ohio State offers a wide receiver who's a 3-star. Yes.
you should pay attention.
Yes.
Literally.
All right.
Look at you giving credit to Ohio State, man. Shout out to you, man.
that's-
Growing up right before our eyes.
Well, they're beneath us right now, so it's all right. Okay, yeah, we're going to head to overtime here shortly. If you want to catch questions, head on over to thednvr.com to catch the full end of the show. That's all I got. You guys got anything else?
Oh, I did have something. Just listening to Coach Faulk up there today, I don't think there's any chance that Colorado doesn't get a big running back out of the portal.
And they've
in the
been
spring.
working the best backs in the class, too.
Yep. And I'm talking to this spring portal, I think Colorado lands the top running back who enters.
I could totally see that.
I could see that for sure.
How could you hear that? And you've got like some NFL tight end who's like your running backs coach because your coach is friends with him and needed to get a spot for him on the team. And then you hear Marshall Faulk talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to stay where you're at? No way.
I guess to just put a bow on everything, to answer the headline too. When you listen to these guys, I mean, there's no way to measure who has the best staff in college football. I guess you could look at recruiting, actually winning games and all that, put it all together. But there's no, to use your word, aura, like a vibe when it comes to the coaching. Like it's totally different here at Colorado than anywhere else. And just when you hear these guys talk, could you just imagine being a recruit who, like, it's your dream to go to the NFL, and these are the guys who are trying to get you to play for them?
It's unmatched for sure. When it comes to that poll, Colorado definitely has the best staff in the country.
Yep.
And yeah, to answer the headline question, like I think what makes this coaching staff one of, if not the best in college football, is not because there's so many talented, experienced coaches in terms of what they did as a player, maybe as a coach in the NFL, but it's the fact that, sometimes when you put together a transfer portal team, maybe in basketball, it's like putting together dudes like with talent doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But this coaching staff, like they have connections that go back years. Like they are connected. Like this is not just a fly-by-night staff that was put together. Like this is years of connections and relationships that has culminated in this group coming together to coach this team here in 2025.
Such a great point.
All right, to the Toyota chat we go. The Bach is asking, I've seen no number 1, 2, 12, or 21. Y'all think it stays like that? I think number 1 will get given out, but
Yeah, I think 1 will be earned, not given out.
yes.
I think Draylon said something recently that he's definitely going for that.
Ooh, I like that.
yeah.
That he wants that. So
But 2, 12, 21, I say no way. Also, someone in the comments just now said, RK, we don't need any running backs. You really don't need anything anywhere. There's a couple places on the roster where you could say, okay, we'd really like to have something there. But you're going to take really talented players if they come available to you at any position.
I think somebody just commented too, like, if that offensive line gets right, you don't need to add to their running back room.
You don't need to. But Ohio State doesn't need to add to their wide receiver room either. And I guarantee you they always are.
And they keep loading 5 stars in that room. Yes. That's just how college football works, though, man.
Georgia doesn't need defensive linemen.
Right.
They got them, though.
You can't get complacent at any position in college football. The minute you do, you fall behind.
Yep. Your job as a coach is to always out-recruit the players that you already have on the field.
Yep. East Coast Kev with the super chat. Now, not only do these players have an all-star coaching staff, they also get to receive game from people like Denzel Washington. Shout out to Denzel Washington. Just talk
Crazy.
What other team has this stuff, bro? There's no chance.
Settle.
Maybe like Texas gets Matthew McConaughey.
Right. But it's like his 17th year in a row doing the same thing.
And he's just fanboy all over the place.
Exactly. Random, what are your top 5 Denzel movies?
We were going back and forth on number 1 earlier. What did you have?
For me, it's Training Day for sure.
Okay.
I mean, that is goated.
I go Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans is
Remember,
gotta
I'm
be
a
top
simple
3.
man.
Yeah,
Just
for
give
sure.
me some football.
What was the movie where he was a pilot?
I don't remember what it's called. The one where he's the pilot and he's like struggling with alcohol addiction or
It's
something.
fire. Like I said, I just saw it last year for the first time, and I'm like, damn, I missed out on this.
Yeah, that movie's dope.
Hey, shout out to Mr. Hillsman for becoming a DNV diehard. We love to hear that. Shout out Mr. Hillsman. Y'all go join him. Great stuff.
Yes,
But
sir.
American Gangster's definitely in the top 5 as well.
Flight. It's just called Flight.
It's Flight. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Flight was fire.
It's all of them are good.
Name me a bad Denzel movie. I dare you.
Anything else?
That's all we got.
Tomorrow, we're gonna have Neely back. We're gonna recap day 2, just like we did yesterday for day 1. So make sure you tune in for that. I'm sure we'll learn at least one thing that we didn't know from practices.
Definitely.
But keep it tuned to thednvr.com. Become a diehard. We got that sale going on right now. We got content coming out in the next 24 hours or so. So we got you covered for spring football.
Oh, yeah.
You know where to go. See you guys tomorrow. Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.